Hey everybody, Drew Renolette here, Director of Student Ministries at Copperhead Community Church in Lenexa, Kansas. I hope you've all had a wonderful week. I hope you were able to go outside and enjoy the weather, as well as the rain that came a few of the days that we had. For me, I have had a great week. Last weekend, as if you watched our Sunday service video, you saw an intro video with some of the kids talking about how they worked at a vegetable produce for MLM. I went with them and had a wonderful time working with them and just getting to see them and helping out, handing produce and just doing all of that. It was truly a good time. I hope you guys had a wonderful week as well. Now, let's jump into it. As you know, we've been going over this series called Origin Story. We're talking about heroes and how they work and what they need, but also the fact of like how me and you can be heroes, how an average person can be a hero as well. It doesn't necessarily take superpowers to be a hero. The first week we talked about how heroes embrace who God made them to be. They take what they have and they use it for good. They take it and use it the way God had planned for them to use it. The second week we talked about how people and heroes care for the people in front of them. Sometimes it's holding the door for somebody. Sometimes it's cleaning up something when you weren't asked. But the fact of it is a true hero helps the people that are right in front of them. Superheroes and their supervillains, yeah, those are the big fights we all die for and love to see in movies. But really, every time those fights happen, it's because superheroes are trying to care for other people. And this week, we're going to talk about how heroes are stronger and better together as a team. Now, that's crazy. Sometimes you think, well, some of the superheroes are so strong working as a team. No, that's insane. You think, I can do everything alone, but no way. When superheroes come together and they work together, they do amazing things. Think about it this way. Think about a team you were on. For me, I can think of so many different teams that I was part of. My wrestling team, my football team, my summer staff teams, working at camp, even now the church team I work on, the staff that I work with, we're all a team. We all work together. But one of those that is very special to me is I can say any summer staff that I've ever worked on. But before I moved to Missouri, most of you know I lived in Washington. I worked at a camp called Gormley. It's a much smaller camp than Heartland. Heartland probably has about 80 staff members. When Gormley we had about 25, and that's all we needed for the summer. But when you're there with those people and you create a team, you build bonds that are stronger than any before. I have best friends that I've lived with and that I call family. These people that at the beginning of the summer that most of them I had never met, and now I'm super close with. I still talk to most of them to this day. Now, here's the thing. When I worked at summer staff, there were so many things where I was like, yeah, I can do this on my own, no worries, and it worked out. But there were also things when I worked at camp that I couldn't do alone. I needed the help of others. And when I worked with those around me, our weeks and our time as a staff was so much better. The opportunity was so much more amazing. One of those opportunities that come to my mind is just playing a game at camp. Sometimes you have to improvise. Sometimes you know it's raining outside or something like that happens that makes you have to change your game. Now, one of those times we were getting ready to play a game out on the field and ready to go run and play, and a thunderstorm came through. And with a thunderstorm coming through, we couldn't do anything about it. Now, you know, I'd worked at camp for a few years before, so I knew all these games that we could play and all these things that we could do. So I started to play some of these games, but they didn't seem to really work. They didn't seem to really interest the kids. They were enjoying them a little bit, some of them were, but most of them, they wanted to be outside. They wanted to be playing that game that they wanted to play. So, forgetting the idea that I could do it by myself, I went and found another staff member, a few other staff members that were there, and we began to talk of how we could get a game, or maybe even just a dance party that could bring everybody together. And so that's what we did. We came up with this game where we brought everybody together. They truly enjoyed it. We had a wonderful time. I had a wonderful time. And we laughed. We had a good time, and every kid was involved. I tried my best to do it on my own, and it didn't really work. But when I put together a team and we worked as one to be able to create a great opportunity for students, it worked out so good. Now, here, let's take a minute. I'm just going to list off some great teams that I can think of. First off, you get the Avengers, you get the Justice League. For myself, I think the Atlanta Falcons are a great team. For those of you here in the Kansas City area and Lenexa area, obviously the Kansas City Chiefs, which I do agree they are a really good team, so great team there. But another team that comes to my mind when I think about it is the disciples. Now, let's look at the disciples a little more. Do we really think of them a team as much? Because honestly, I don't. When I look at them, I don't think of them as a team. I look at them as a group of people that work together. But in all honesty, they were a team. They all worked together. They did what they needed to do. And they were a team for Jesus. Now, let's dig a little deeper into the disciples about what a team has looked like. Looking at how that me and you, that fact that we can be heroes. Let's look at the disciples, because here's a few things they were. One, they were very diverse. Now, the fact is, if there were 10 of me on a team, I think we'd do pretty good. But I couldn't think of every single way to make a game better because my mind thinks in one way. But if I have a team of different people that think differently, that work together differently, that have grown up differently, when we come together, we can cover all bases. We can do all things together. It creates a wonderful opportunity to be able to reach more people and do more things because we can view things differently. Just like the disciples, they were diverse. They were all different. They came from different backgrounds. Some were fishermen, some were tax collectors. And they came from different places as well. The disciples were very diverse. Two, they were ordinary people. Again, they were fishermen. They were tax collectors. Before they became Jesus' disciples, they had regular jobs. They went and worked and did things that you and I, you will do one day and then I do every day. I'm an ordinary person. And the fact that it is too, is they were chosen just like I was to do this work. The third thing is they were on a mission. When they became the disciples, they had a plan. They knew what they were doing and they were focused on it. They went for it and they walked towards it. They took all their steps to just be able to get where they were going. Jesus gave them a mission to spread his name and help as many people as they could as they walked, and that's what they did. Even after his death, they kept walking the path Jesus had set in front of them. They kept spreading his name. They took the word of God and spread it to the ends of the earth. Crazy fact, we don't think about it this way, at least I never did, before I went to Israel, is when we think about it, we hear this passage that says, to the ends of the earth. But we don't put together that America, where we are today, is the ends of the earth. This whole thing started in Israel, across the ocean at a different place. But his word is spread to here. The disciples helped with that. They spread his word to the ends of the earth like Jesus had said. And the last thing is that sometimes the disciples just struggled to get along. They fought, they disagreed, which happens in every team. Even when I worked on summer staffs, there were moments where we'd view things differently, we'd want to do things differently. We struggled to get along sometimes because we were in such close proximity at all times. But also because we were diverse, we were all different people because we viewed things differently. They struggled to get along just like our teams do. Now again, think about it though. If we had split the disciples up, made them their own individual people, had them do their own thing, I don't think they would have achieved as much. The fact of it is they worked better together as a team. I mean, think about this as the Avengers. There were some villains that they couldn't defeat on their own. They needed help. And they came together and they completed a mission, completed their job. They worked together better as a team. Just like when you and I and everybody else that you can imagine being on your team, when you come together, you work better and do great things. Now I have a question for you. When you think about it, who would be on your team? Who is a group of people that you can get to come together to do great works, to do those little things, to become heroes in God's name? God gave those disciples the mission to spread his word many years ago, and today we have that same mission because we are a team with the disciples. We were teaming with Jesus just like they were. Now, take some time this week and figure out who your team is. Figure out who you can work with to do great things in God's name, to be heroes for God. Because as we all know, we can think about any movie, any time, where people come together. They work so much better together as a team than they do alone. Because heroes work together better as a team. Thank you for listening. I hope you all have a wonderful week.